Hi, today I would like to talk about a program called WordBrewery, which I have integrated into my study plans. And it is a fairly new program that focuses on vocabulary acquisition. It uses real sentences from the news. It's something I really like because of that reason. And as you can see here at the bottom, we have a lot of different languages represented. I won't go through each one. I wanted to make this video not because of exactly I think the way I use the program is like the number one thing people should do. I do really like the program. I do think my method is useful, obviously, for me, but I think that there are some features of this website that are really, really great, but people I suggest it to don't know where to start because there's not as much hand-holding. It's not necessarily a beginner program. You can start with their beginning levels, but you really need to have some general structure. I think it's the best thing after Duolingo to do if you finished using that program in your said language. So this is geared more towards intermediate, advanced learners, people who maybe have taken a semester or two of the language, maybe even just one, but have a general knowledge of what's going on. And I just wanted to highlight some interesting facets of it. So just to get started, I just want to go over a few different modules that I think will be useful just to mention in passing that they have. So WordBrewery does have course modes, and they have it for English, Spanish, German, and French, and these are pretty straightforward. You open up the course, you go through the sentences, you answer some questions, you finish a module or mini section of that course, you continue practicing, you master the words. So that's very straightforward. I won't really talk much about that. Then you have sentence list or word lists. I will talk about how you create lists in a minute. These are fairly useful. I use them to get several contextual sentences for a single word, and you can do these in all languages. You can have lists that are just sentences, which I think are more useful because you have context, or you can simply have word lists, which have obviously less context. You're just saving words. You can do either one, but I prefer sentences. I think that's more useful. And you can export these into Anki. I won't show you how to do that, but I'll show you here with an example list. A lemma is just a stem, so using the word verdienen, and they'll be conjugated different ways. So you can download audio, which is very nice. Now the audio is not native audio yet, but it's a startup. I know they have native audio for Spanish. And the voices aren't really that bad. Like, compared to most computer voices, I think they're decent for what you need. Then you can also download the sentences as a PDF if you want to carry it with you on your phone and so forth if you don't use Anki, for example, and then you can edit the title and the description. You can also study this list as you would in Explore mode, and I will show you how to use Explore mode next because that's what I use the most. Alright, let's talk about Explore mode. So you can see we have a lot of options. You can choose your language. You can choose to study by level or by list. So we just looked at lists. You can actually go through them over and over in this kind of format, studying them. I'll do that sometimes when I want to review. You can choose the level, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and master. And the difference between these levels is that the sentences will become more complex as you go up the chain, and the words will become more varied. So in the first level, for example, you'll have like the 500 most common words. And then the next level might be the first 1 to 3,000 most common words, and so forth. I think the last level is something like 20,000 words. So you can learn the most frequent words easily, and these words that are most frequent are the ones you will use the most in conversation and in most texts. So the fact that it's segregated by word frequency by most common words I think is very useful. And then you can also go by topic, and there are several topics from sports, arts and culture, business, and so forth, and you can even choose voices. And again, for German there's no native voices yet, but I imagine as the company grows they'll be able to add more native voices than just Spanish. Okay, so you can see how many words you've studied. You can also see how many words you've encountered, how many sentences you've seen. You can search for specific words, as I've done here with verrechnen. For some reason I can't remember this word. You can create a list by clicking this icon over here, the little list icon next to the word verrechnen, or whatever word you happen to click on in a sentence. You'll have some grammar information, a basic definition, and then links to other dictionaries and contextual dictionaries online. Alright, so that's the basic format. I like to listen to the audio. You can also do dictation, which I think is useful. Here I've opened up the translation because I imagine not all of you speak German. You can also hide it, which I think is great for review. You can add the sentence to a list once again. You can report the sentence if there's a problem with it, which I think is great. And you can see the original source, so you can see where the sentence has come from if you need more context, or if you just simply want to see how much you can read of that news article, which I really like. Now, I want to show you guys a feature that I really enjoy that they've just added, so I was really excited. Where you can add your own translation, and you can add your own grammar note, which I think is very useful because many people tend to avoid grammar. And I don't think that's really the best way to learn. I think grammar can be very useful, especially after the first 500 words are so, it gives you a framework to start learning. So here I'll show you, it's very simple. Let's see. I'll just talk about the preposition here. Usually takes the accusative case. It's a very small grammar note, but I'm just going to save that. So now you can see right here that my grammar note has been added, and people can upvote it or downvote it, which I think will be useful in the long term. So it's a crowdsourcing kind of thing, but I think it's also great to test yourself and to see, okay, can I label all these parts of the sentences? What note should I leave for myself or for other people? That will help with this. And if you have all these sentences on a list and you are adding notes, maybe alternate translations or alternate grammar notes, and you're studying by list, you can see these as you go. And I think that's really great. I personally love to diagram sentences. I think it's great for finding gaps, and that's usually how I study with WordBrewery. Is I will go through a sentence like this, as we see here, and I will go through each word and try to label the part of speech. And then if I get something wrong, or if I feel kind of off about something, I will check it, and then I will try to practice that concept. So that's generally how I use WordBrewery. I'll go through several sentences. I also use it if I need context for specific words that I found in reading. And sometimes I'll just randomly go through Explore mode and not go through a specific word or a specific list. And I will try to see if I can take apart the sentence or if I understand every word. I think it's really great for review, for warm-up and cool-down exercises. I just think it's very versatile that way. And again, you can also add alternate translations if there's more than one meaning for a word. And you can also report the sentence if it's just completely wrong or if there's a lot of issues. Occasionally there may be an error in a sentence, and usually that's because the original writer made that error in the source article. But regardless, you can report that as you see here with the button. So that's one thing that I really like. The next thing I want to show you, which I think is very useful for independent learners, it's useful if you have words that have multiple contexts, and it's useful for teachers, I think, too, if you want to very quickly create a list of sentences that you can use in exercises for your class. So here you see I'm going to create a list with the word berechnen here, and CS is lemma, which again is just the stem, or you can have the text, which is the specific way it's shown in the sentence. Now what this does is it creates an automatic list with that word. I'm just going to do 20 because I think 20 is enough normally. And all you have to do is press OK, and I will get several different sentences with the word berechnen in different forms. And I think that's great for finding different contexts, for learning different conjugations. If it's an adjective or a noun, different declensions. So the way a word changes on case, if you're learning Spanish or French or Portuguese, you may not have this exactly, but languages like Russian and German do change. Many words do change depending on the case and the function of the word in the sentence. So anyway, I'm just going to press OK there and let that load. Alright, so now I am on my list page, and if I scroll down here, you will see that, voila, I have a new list with the word berechnen. And you can see there's a 5 here. That's because only 5 sentences were found. I think that's by level. So it depends on the database, but Generally, you can find several examples for one word, especially if it's a common word. If you put a word like bei, B-E-I, in German in there, I'm sure you'll get like 500 examples easy. So that's something I like to do, to find different contexts for words, and then I can just study it until I have a good idea of how to use it, and I can also use those sentences as model sentences and then try to write based on them. So that's usually what I use WordBrewery for. Now, WordBrewery is fairly new, like I said, and they're adding features all the time, which is exciting. I don't think they have an app yet, but their mobile site it works fine on a phone. And if you have a decent data plan, mine's all right. I can use it on my phone, no problem. And there's a free version, and there's different subscriptions based on your needs. So I would advise you check it out if you like what you've seen here. If you've used WordBrewery before, let me know what you think in the comments. If you haven't, let me know what you'd like to see in a language software. All right, I hope this was useful. Thank you for listening. Bye.